The smartest guys around are about to break it down like they've won the game a million times.
Well, actually, they didn't really win the game at all.
Survivor know it all. Survivor know it all. Steven and Rob without a doubt got the game all figured out. They know it all.
Yeah, that's right. Survivor Know-It-Alls are back here Wednesday night. Now, that's how you do it on Survivor, Stephen Fishbach.
Total stud move by the Survivor Know-It-Alls.
Great move by us to be back on Wednesdays.
Did you not say like total stud move? I love
Total
that.
stud
David
move.
with a stud move is what it was. He does when David did like a jump flip.
With the dive. Yes.
Yeah, Jeff yelled David with a, and it felt like he like paused.
A stud move? I thought he said he David with a stunt move.
Oh,
because he's a stunt man.
That makes a lot more sense. A stunt move.
Well,
that makes a lot more.
That's why I didn't pick up on your reference. Yeah,
you were like really going with it. I appreciate that.
Look, yes, and so we are ready to go here tonight.
Move makes a lot more sense. But stud move has its own je ne sais quoi.
Yeah. All right. Well, Stephen Fishbach, of course, of many stunts, is back here with us to talk about a very exciting blindside tonight of Kevin. Really came out of nowhere. It looked like, okay, Mary, then say, and then ultimately it swings around to poor Kevin, who just got his shoulder dislocated, and then ultimately it ends up with a blindside second person who voted out of Survivor. Stephen, how are you?
I'm great. Wonderful to be talking to you. More importantly, how are you, Rob?
Doing great. A lot of exciting stuff going on. Just by the way, a little background information. So there is a news team here that they tell me it's not a hit piece, but they're going to be talking to me for my local In Focus, North Carolina. It's going to air March 16th at 11:30, and I'll post it online when we have it. But if you see any people in the background milling about, we have a team of people here taking a look at what we do behind the scenes. So shout out to the live studio audience here today. Yeah.
Finally, the expose that you deserve.
Finally, this could be the takedown you've been waiting for.
Yeah.
But Stephen, we got so much coming up this week here on RHAP. Of course, tomorrow we're going to talk with Kevin. Then the week of podcasting kicks off. And look at this. We've got on the podcast, of course, something old, something new. That's what we're doing here in season 48. I will sit down with Tevin Davis on Thursday. And then in our old school interview, and we had a great one with T-Bird this past week, your friend and mine, Sophie Clark, is going to join us for that. Of course, you could hear all that when you're subscribed. We know Survivor.com. On Friday, we also are going to have a treat that I am off to South by Southwest this weekend. I'm going to be speaking on a panel there. So Owen Knight is going to fill in for me on the patron Q&A on
fun.
Friday for the patrons.
You know, I'm seeing Owen tomorrow, or for the first time ever. I'm meeting him in person.
Wow. Okay.
What's he like in person?
You'll see. You'll find out.
Yeah.
A lovable curmudgeon, they say. And
is that right? Yeah. I've only seen lovable. I haven't even seen curmudgeon. Maybe that's the in-person stuff. I'll see.
Well, if you want to hang out with survivors, rub elbows with the glitterati, head on over to Chat BCC, where Stephen and I are hanging out with all of our survivor friends,
including Owen Knight.
Join the Survivor group chat. It is completely free and it's a lot of fun. Head on over to robhasawebsite.com/VIP chat to chat about the episode live as we watch it. And all week long, we talk about all the Survivor news. That's Chat BCC. Go to robhasawebsite.com/VIP chat. Steven, I love this episode tonight.
Yeah, very, very fun. We really saw all three camps in their different beautiful iterations. And I feel like we kind of have a sense of everybody in the, it's episode 2. And I really have a good idea who everybody is and kind of like a rough outline of their gameplay.
Yeah, and especially for our purposes, I really feel like that we have a lot of interesting strategic machinations to talk through in the 3 tribes. And so let's start here on the Vula tribe, because I thought that this was such a wild turn of events. It really looked like that Mary was a sitting duck after she comes back from the journey, loses her vote, and now here she is. And then Cedrek has the poor performance in the challenge, kind of is willing to throw himself under the bus. But Kevin is like, no, this is the time to take out Say. But he underestimates the relationship between Say and Cedrek.
Yeah. And interesting. So, I mean, it really was this sort of like chain where then Cedrek goes to Say and says, it was such a great moment where he's like, how much can you conceal your emotions? And she's like, good. And then he starts laughing. And I thought that was like an uh-oh moment too. I thought, oh my gosh, there's going to be like some, but not at all. Like she did an amazing job of concealing her emotions. Then she goes to Justin and kind of like lays the groundwork of why don't we get out Kevin?
Yeah.
Is picked up, I thought, like shockingly quickly by Justin, from what we had seen last episode and to an extent at the start of this episode, it looked like Justin and Kevin were kind of becoming a duo and the sort of center of the tribe, but not at all. Justin immediately turned on Kevin, goes back to Cedrek, and it's Kevin who ends up getting voted out. It's such a great chain of I don't know, like it's a very quickly moving thing.
Well, I think that there's a lot of interesting decisions to talk through from Kevin, Say, Cedrek, and Justin on this. And so I guess let's go one at a time. Let's go through. Kevin says, okay, this is the time to blindside Say. Obviously, results oriented. That was not the right decision for Kevin. But do you feel like in a vacuum, was he thinking the right thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think his thought process is 100% makes sense because, if you are committed to this 3-guy alliance, if that's the baseline, and you are assuming that your tribe is going to keep losing, which they have every reason to do, then you can't just think about this vote. You have to think about the next vote. And if they take the layup and vote out Mary here, then at the next vote, Say has an idol, and there's every reason to think she would play it at the next tribal council. So it's one of the 3 guys going home in that. And you think maybe Kevin has a sense that Cedrek and Say are close. That means it's either him or Justin. So if I'm Kevin, I'm thinking, now is a great time to blindside Say. Like that idol is not making it intact to emerge. So like let's get rid of her now and it. Worst case scenario, Say plays her idol, Mary goes home, and Say's idol is gone with it. Best case scenario, we take out Say, I get to keep my pocket ally Mary. I honestly thought from Kevin's perspective, like the thinking was great. Obviously, something happened subsequent to the thinking that led to his ouster.
So did Mary losing her vote, did that really screw up this plan for Kevin? Because if Mary doesn't lose her vote, Kevin, Mary, and Justin can vote out Say. They don't even need to involve Cedrek if they want.
Yeah, but Justin immediately turned on Kevin. Like that was the thing that was shocking, was like, even in the sort of set, like even when Say set out, at least in her confessionals, she wasn't saying I'm going to flip this on Kevin. She's saying I'm going to lay the groundwork so people are suspicious of Kevin. So she goes and talks to Justin, and he's like, "Yes, great, Kevin, he's out." Like it's immediate. So I think that I don't think. I mean, maybe Mary having her vote would give a little bit more leverage to the situation where it's less cut and dried because you think, okay, there's definitely going to be these 2 votes on Say. Do I trust whatever everyone else is saying? Like maybe it would cause a little bit, but like purely numerically, like no, it didn't actually end up having a decisive impact on things.
Okay, Cedrek. He wants to save Say. He's in on this plan, and he decides to tell Say to play her idol and vote out Mary. What did you think about Cedrek's decision?
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. If both from a moral and a strategic perspective, why am I saving your pocket ally when I when I got my closer relationship, my pocket ally? I mean, obviously it's risky whenever you say like to anybody, don't tell anybody about this, like this, and I think there was every reason to think that it could lead to a bigger blow up than it did, right? Like as frequently happens. I mean, not, in these situations where someone says like, hey, like play your idol, they're all coming for you. It typically does not go exactly to plan, as the person planned when that person says that. But yeah, it made total sense to me from Cedrek's perspective.
Yeah.
Everyone was playing a very rational, sensible game.
So
Say
I really
too,
think
they played it perfectly.
Okay, before we get to say, I just want to say that Cedrek, I think this kind of worked out for him better than his original plan, which I think that his original plan was, okay, let me just pretend I didn't tell you, and then we'll sort of just, surprise Kevin and Justin with what we're planning. And he kind of would have been having to lie to those two guys. Instead, the way it works out, Kevin is gone. Him and Justin are like co-conspirators on this.
Right.
And he's actually in a better position, I think, than had he been, I'm just with Say, but I sort of have this secret from the other guys that Say could expose at any point. By the way, Cedrek was the one that told me to play my idol. So I think he ends up benefiting this. Let's get to Say. Say, who could have been content to say, I'm just going to play my idol tonight. We'll take out Mary, who's been a thorn in my side. Instead, opts to go after Kevin. And so I would love to hear your thoughts about, was that the right move for Say?
Well, it didn't even sound like, she was not even, particularly, it didn't seem like she was pushing that too hard. But again, yes, that makes total sense for Say, right? Where from Say's perspective, she learns that Kevin is actually plotting to blindside her. Mary voted against her at the last tribal, but it did seem like Mary was going along with Stephanie. And of course, if you're Say, you think you voted against me. I don't like you. I want you out for that. Like, you don't want to encourage or allow people to vote against you without there being some kind of consequence to that. But Kevin's the one who's actually plotting to get rid of her. So for her to, push on
Justin.
Kevin makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
For her to play an idol made perfect sense. She knew she was a potential target. Even though she had, I guess, reason to think that the votes were going her way, she still did the cautious thing and played her idol, which I thought was completely reasonable and a good move. Really, everybody played this very well. Someone was voted out. Unfortunately, it was Kevin. But I'm sure David Bloomberg will have a lot of good reasons about why Kevin lost, but why? Tell me, Rob. Why did you spoil it, Rob?
What went wrong for Kevin? So I think that he obviously underestimated the relationship that Cedrek and Say had, and maybe I think stuck his neck out too far to potentially keep his pocket ally in Mary. We saw that Kevin and Mary had the good relationship from the first episode after he came home from the Sweater Savvy challenge, that he's like, hey, I got a 3-person alliance over here, or 4-person alliance over here. I've got a good deal going with Mary. And I think that he just overestimated how much that he was going to hitch his wagon to Mary. And this is something I've talked about for a while in the new era, that it is not often the person who's lost their vote that goes home. It is the friend of the person who lost their vote who goes home. Yeah. And Kevin, you're friends with the person who lost their vote. You were their number one.
Yeah. That's very interesting. So again, that's a really good point. People see weakness. Nobody's defending Kevin, and then he's gone. I don't think this was just about Kevin protecting Mary. I do think that was partially part of it. It's a totally reasonable thing for him to be thinking about the next vote, given that Vula is terrible at challenges.
I don't think that Kevin made a horrible misplay, but I think it's so interesting from Say's point of view. Because at first I'm like, Say, I think that, this was, you had the gimme, you had Mary sitting right there. Because I didn't think that Justin was going to go along with this, that I thought Cedrek said, don't say anything. And now here you are now going to Justin. I didn't think that he would be in on the plan, but I have to, it's so hard to not say the word Say a million times when we're talking about Say, but I have to say that she did the Boston Rob move. If this was Boston Rob and you tell him hey, by the way, I know you have an idol, but Kevin is trying to get you out. So we're all going to vote for you and then still vote out Mary. No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Then you're the passive participant. No, you flip it, target the person who's targeting you. And she did it beautifully. I'm curious about this from
He said my name. He's got to go.
Yeah.
Listen, Justin.
What? Justin is
pie.
the one. Sorry, I keep on stepping on your impersonation.
You're fine. You're good.
Do you want to do it again?
This Fishbach. Keep it moving. Okay. Smarten up.
have a computer. That plays in my mind nonstop. The Boston Rob raps from on the Twitter.
Yeah.
The question is from Justin's perspective. Like that's the one that like interests me the most.
Let's get into it.
Does Justin, is this a good move for Justin? I was surprised because again, the story we've seen is that Justin and Kevin are in the middle. Why does Justin make this call? And is it a good play for Justin?
Well, really, I think Justin, when we are actually looking at this tribe, Justin was the swing vote. It seemed like that there was maybe a pair, like Kevin really tied himself more to Mary. Cedrek tied himself more to Say. And here's Justin, the person who's the swing with 2 sets of 3s. And ultimately, the 3 he decides he wants to go with is Say and Cedrek. And maybe he feels like, okay, well, maybe that's the pair where maybe Kevin and Mary, he thought were going to be a little bit more cohesive. And maybe he feels like either he has a tighter bond with Cedrek or with Say and feels like, or maybe this 2 isn't going to last. And so I want to hitch my wagon to this particular trio as opposed to the trio with Kevin and Mary.
Yeah. I mean, one interesting thing we've seen about Justin is that basically every conversation he leads, he's like, yes, I'm into this plan. And then the next conversation is like, got it. That's the new plan. Yeah. I love it. Which is a great way to be on Survivor.
Yes.
So, I think that, you don't see that person as being part of any like strong, at least certainly not yet. We don't see him as being any part of like any strong group, but it's certainly a very flexible position to establish.
Now, are you a big Justin guy considering that you and he share an alma mater? Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't want a Yale to do better than me. So he can get up to the final 3, I guess. Yeah. Like final 2, if he gets like a vote, like then he's like surpassed me. So like final 3 is great. I'd love to see a Yale do well, just not better than me.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there have been Yales that have done better than me. I mean, or as well as me.
See, I thought Justin had a pretty quiet episode 1, and he was actually my winner pick coming into the season. And I was like, I'm not feeling so great about it. He just talked about the pizza place. That was the extent of his content in the first episode. But I feel a lot better about it after this episode.
He's a quiet guy. What was it about his pregame that led him?
What I really liked about Justin in the pregame is obviously, okay, so he has this wonderful education that we've already discussed, but also that he has the street smarts, that he's worked in the pizza place. He doesn't come across as an elitist, and also he's got the long hair. So he's got the combination of super smart guy with the long hair. I think a lot of people look at him and he's probably like a dude bro with a pizza shirt on. So I think people are going to underestimate Justin.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like I was thinking that too in Tribal Council, is he doesn't come across as your, stereotypical Ivy League nerd who's just like, let me impress you, Jeff, with all my metaphors.
All his metaphors are about pizza.
Yeah, he's got the one. He's staying in his lane. Very smart. So
he's also strong without like that. He's not like one of the biggest guys on the season. So he's sort of like under the radar strong too. So that was why I felt so good about him in the preseason.
Yeah. No, I think he's good. It's interesting. We haven't seen a lot from him, but I do feel like he's got longevity in the game. What's interesting to me is like, I think I was discounting Say a little bit because of how active, like she came out of the gate hot on Twitter.
Yes.
And I
like a Tony Vlachos, Steven.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Like normally you see these people and they're like super active on Twitter and you're like, okay, that's like classic pre-merge Twitter. And so I think I was like kind of like waiting, but there are those outliers who have those like big personalities like Tony Vlachos.
Yeah.
And after this episode, I think Say might even be in that category of like, this is just who she is. And it doesn't necessarily reflect.
She had 21 confessionals in the first episode, the most ever confessionals of any player in any episode, actually past Tony, who did it in a 1-hour episode. But just, Steven, just a quick aside. So I went to the Survivor Beach Drop last week, rubbing elbows with all the glitterati, and Tony was there. And I had a really nice chat with Tony, and he was telling me that he needed to get home, that it was his daughter's birthday, and Tony's a great dad. And Tony had like this whole setup for his daughter's 12-year-old birthday party. And he was, he sent me pictures of how he had it all set up, and she was having all of her friends stay at the house for the night. And he's like, you see, Stephen Fishbach doesn't believe me that I have sleepovers here.
A real slumber party.
Yeah.
Let's just see if he gives any of his daughter's friends his phone.
If anybody was texting for him. Yeah. So now I want to go back just to the decision that was made. We talked about it from the strategic point of view. But here we go, and we've got the Vula tribe. They've lost 2 in a row, and now have voted out their best, I would say, outwardly most athletic person in Kevin.
Yeah.
Now, he is a little diminished in that he separated his shoulder, I believe, in the first challenge, but Kevin was not the person that was holding them back in the challenge. This, to me, seems like maybe where you could really pick apart this decision to vote out Kevin when you've lost 2, you're already outgunned, and now I don't see how this tribe is not headed back to tribal council a few more times in a row.
Yeah, I see. That's where I disagree with you. I think they are such a bad physical tribe that you're like not even thinking about
Throw it out the window.
You're thinking like, how do I get through this tribe into a merge? Like, what is the, and that's what Kevin was thinking, right? He's like, he's not thinking like, how do I like build a core alliance? He's thinking like, what is the sequence of votes here that I can plan out so that I am most protected? Assuming we go down to 3 or 2.
But that's from Kevin's point of view. But what about from the rest of the tribe?
I think they all have to be thinking that. They're thinking like, what does it matter? Like, is having Kevin here and instead of anybody else going to change the fact that Laggi has Joe and Shaheen and Eva? Like, no, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So is Justin just sort of doomed that if it goes down to 2, that he's kind of screwed no matter what?
Well, that's the question. I mean, there's a world where, Mary has survived 2 tribal councils so far where she was a potential target. So, maybe there's a world where something else happens. And that is the question, right? Like, I do think that probably Mary's the next boot. And that's where Justin probably went wrong. Like, if it is 2 more boots before any kind of swap or emerge.
Well, do you think that we will swap
and say Justin screwed up?
If this is just a total blowout, and Survivor 45 was the only season that we swapped in the new era, and that was another, I believe, with the Lulu tribe that they had lost the 3 in a row, and then they ultimately ended up going and doing a swap there. Do you think that that's where potentially this season is headed?
And maybe, I do think like I think we are definitely going to see the collapse of the Vula tribe. So yeah.
Yeah. And so we'll see where we go next week. But it seems like that Mary is really, there was a chance for her to have a miracle. And this is probably a good place to talk about the journeys that we saw in this episode. No journey in episode 1. We had the journeys here in episode 2, which I think this was also how they did it in Survivor 45, where, I really loved, Steven, how they decided who was going to go on the journey. It wasn't pick a rock out of a bag. It wasn't you all decide. They all had to do a game that really gave the players a lot of agency, that a lot of choices to make, where how hard do I want to go for it? And if I don't want to go, I basically can just throw out a 5.
Yeah.
And there's no way that I will end up going to the journey if I don't want it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then it created like an interesting moment where Say and Mary, where that sort of like awkward uncomfortableness where, they say, someone says this is a practice round and Say wins the practice round and claims victory anyway. And
that was the thing.
Not supporting
that
her.
was it.
Yeah.
You guys back me up here.
Yeah. Which is funny and a little bit like, that's too much. Let's take a breath. That's a little too fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it was a great character moment for sure in the season, and I really loved how they did that. So we got to learn a lot about the players in doing that. But Mary, this was her chance. This was her chance to really change her trajectory, and then ultimately, she is the one who doesn't come through on it.
It looked very close too. It looked like she got it right at the end of the timer, which was a bummer. Because of course, even if like you're not rooting for Mary, you're like kind of rooting for the person in trouble to like get a thing.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe Mary got some protection in that? Do you think that they thought like, okay, well maybe let's not vote for her?
That's interesting.
Although I feel like that Kevin was the person driving, let's not vote for her, and it may be that he did know she had lost her vote.
Right. You're right that the person who goes on the journey, you're always a little bit wary that maybe there's like some magic power that they're gonna have. Yeah. There's probably something to that. You're just like on the margin. If I have to choose between 2 people, like why not go for the one who doesn't have maybe a magic power?
I want to talk about the Laggi tribe, where we got a ton of strategic intrigue over there after we had a couple of segments from them. Now, I don't know if this tribe is ever going to go to a tribal council as this particular group, so we may not ultimately ever get the answer to this question, but I thought it was so interesting. We saw all the alliances in the first episode of the season where Star was the person who was left out. And of course, as a few of the different players weighed in and made the same observation, of course, the one player who's on the outs is the person who's going to find the beware advantage.
Well, right. Well, that's the person who's motivated to look.
Yeah. And so Star ends up being the person who gets this little like paper coffee filter with the holes cut out of it. And so she is enlisting a few different people to work on this with her. And I think that this is something that's very interesting. We haven't really seen this come up in the new era where there's a person who has the beware advantage who needs our help. And we saw a few different players in Thomas and Shaheen try to weigh out, like, do we want to help Star, or would we prefer Star to have no vote and not have an idol?
Yeah, which is so interesting. And then Shaheen lays it out. There's like 3 options, like really help Star, kind of give like tepid help, or then actively sabotage her. And of course, Thomas comes in with this 4th option of like lose the clue. What's your take on the lose the clue move, Rob?
I think that it is easy for Thomas to say, and I can understand why Thomas would want that, but I think that that is a tough moment for Shaheen to end up going like, hey, Star, by the way, I lost. I think we actually did see that with Daniel Strunk and Mike Turner.
The Daniel Strunk strategy.
But it was not intentional. He was not doing that on purpose.
Hey, speaking of Yale's on Survivor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And somebody that you did better than.
That's right. That's right. Two great
so
categories.
A win-win.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought that was very interesting. And I think that Shane is playing this correctly in terms of slow playing it, but not giving Star enough information to unlock the idol.
Yeah, I think that's right. Because you don't want to be actively sabotaging. I think obviously you don't want to be throwing out the clue and just building animosity, especially given how strong this tribe is. You know, there's every reason to think that they are going to go into a swap or a merge intact. And so like not having someone who feels alienated, it's really hard, but it's also really important. I honestly think that that could be Laggi's strength, is that Star is building this overlapping alliance with, you know, Eva, where like basically the whole tribe is in an alliance with Star and with Eva, just the two of them are not with each other. But like the fact that, you know, there is that cohesiveness could be what separates them from a lot of other really winning tribes where there's always 1 or 2 people out who are trying desperately to screw over their own tribe more than they're trying to win the game.
Well, this tribe is so interesting because we had in the first episode, we had, you know, that beautiful moment with Joe and Eva. And then we also saw that Thomas and Bianca are also a duo, and they're also, okay, hey, we do the puzzles. And so they are also a pair. But Shaheen was the one person that he had the California girls, but he didn't really have a pair. And so here's Star, who's left out. And I kind of feel like that almost like by proxy, I feel like that maybe Shaheen is looking at Star as, hey, this is my pocket alliance person. And maybe I do want her to ultimately have the idol. I noticed a moment where after Star sat out of the challenge, after they were, Laggi came in second place in the challenge, that there was a moment where I think that Star has her arm around Shaheen, and he like kisses her hand. Like this was like a very like sweet moment between the two of them. Like I think that those two might be closer than we realize, or are becoming closer due to the idol clue.
Right, that really could be the case. I also want to call out how Joe. I thought that was really smart the way Joe handled it, where Star comes to
Joe's
Joe
going
first.
through it.
Yeah. But also like the idea of like, let me bring somebody else in so I have some kind of external proof that I'm not like creating this side scheme. I think that's very smart, you know, because there always is that fear. Oh, look at those two on the beach. They're scheming. So bringing in someone from your group into that to kind of like give you verifiability, I thought was a really good decision.
Now, I think that Shane is in a tough spot here because Thomas has said, hey, lose the idol clue. Do not let her get the idol. Now, if Shaheen solves the puzzle for her, I think that Thomas might be pissed. Like this could be maybe a real rift in the California girls.
Well, something's happening next week though, where it looks like there's going to be some shenanigans. According to the preview, Thomas's eye really looks like he really got hit badly there.
Well, he got hit in the face with a pole.
Yeah. Yeah, not the best.
No laughing from the camera crew. That happened.
Okay. It looked like he got hit in the eye. I mean, at first I thought it was his head, but like his eye is completely swollen and red.
Yeah. He's like, am I bleeding? Like, no. Okay, keep going. Jeff's like, rub some dirt on it. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, as you know, just a little aside. I don't love it when in the preview they're like, look how many injuries people have in the blindfold challenge. Look at all these people injuring themselves.
We don't love the blindfold challenge.
Yeah.
There
But
really
also,
haven't
when they
been
make
many.
it's
too
not
many
just
in the
that
new
the blindfold challenge leads to injuries. It's also like they're like, look at how crazy these injuries are. Like they're making that the feature of the blindfold challenge. I do not like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, we could get on our soapbox about that, but somebody must like it.
But like, are we not? Surely,
do we get to vote,
Steven,
Steven, and Survivor 50? Can we vote?
Yeah.
Should there be blindfold challenges?
No blindfolds. Yeah.
Yeah. Get it out of there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or at least not like blindfolds with heavy objects. Like that seems like like have blindfolds, but like and have heavy objects, but not together.
Yeah. Okay. But the Purple Tribe, I think, bears watching. I just like really feel like they're not going to tribal council. Like I just feel like that this is going to be one of these questions that like I'm doing a medium dive at the end of the season. It's like, okay, but Joe, tell me, if you guys went to tribal council, who was going to get voted out?
They seemed annoyed that they came in second. Like they were like scowling over having gotten the second place, which like understandably, like they were ahead, they were doing great. And then like Mitch just was on fire. Yeah,
what happened? Did Evil like cool off? Like she got 4 in a row. It seemed like, oh, Eva's gonna ace this, and then Mitch came in.
Yeah, I mean, but that was crazy how quickly Mitch did it. I
yeah,
mean, like you can't.
I guarantee you, okay, that take this to the bank. Dalton Ross is gonna write about how the underhand toss on the basketball is the way to go. That's one of his big Survivor rules.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. I didn't know that.
That he's like, mark my words. He loves that.
Okay.
That's the way to go. All right. Steven, you want to talk about the Orange Tribe?
Yeah.
Siva.
A lot of love from the Siva tribe. Very loving tribe. A lot of fun. A lot of like disgusting things. A lot of like belly buttons and warts and gross.
Right. Steven, do you have any humble traits?
Oh my gosh. Every trait of mine is a humble trait.
I don't have any non-humble traits.
Yeah. I'm like Uriah Heep. I'm so humble. Anyone? Okay. Do you think is Charity getting the D winners gross foot edit?
Well, that's what I thought at first. And you look like, listen, for everybody here, like, not a foot guy. Like, I'm like, she was talked about how ugly her foot is. Like, I don't know. I'm not seeing what's supposed to be. She like really made a lot about it. This foot is so bad. It's like, it's fine.
Oh my God. You have no idea. Gross feet. Oh, forget it. Like, I think some gross. I
didn't think that this was that jacked up of a foot.
It was fine. It was like, it was a foot.
Yeah. I don't know.
And then, I mean,
7 out of 10. Are we rating feet on this show or no? We don't do that.
I don't know. Is that? I feel like I might be on the wrong.
More 6 out of 10. I don't know. Is that wrong?
What is 6? Am I like 6 a high? Like is 10 beautiful or is 10 gross?
I think 10's the best.
So 6 was, and that's her humble trait is a 6 out of 10. Oh my God.
I thought it was fine.
My best traits are a 6 out of 10.
Yeah. All right. But we found out that David had 4 nipples. I didn't even know that could happen.
I've seen people with the extra nipple. I mean, not just the man with the golden gun. 3. Yeah. Someone I played Survivor with had a 3rd nipple. I don't want to like. I feel like maybe I shouldn't.
It's like a HIPAA thing.
Why?
Exactly. Yeah. Never heard of somebody with 4.
Yeah.
What's the record? Removed. Do we know?
Can you really say you have 4 if you had them removed?
I think at one time I was born with 4 nipples.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Then we found out that Chrissy has a very deep belly button.
Giant belly button. She's a Q-tip.
Yeah, that we learned so much about this tribe. I feel like I know them so well.
Yeah, it actually was a very like lovely, human, fun, interpersonal moment.
Yeah. All right. But as far as back to the strategy, okay, from 4 nipples to the 4-person alliance, we see that the 2 people on the outs, Charity and Mitch, seem like that they are a duo. I know that this was a better week for Charity, that she did not get much in the first episode. What do you think is going on here? Do you think that Charity is looking like that she's going to be the person voted out from this group?
It's funny that, I mean, David's confessional about like, Mitch and Charity are playing hard. So we, the easygoing people, are going to blindside and destroy that. Like who's playing hard here? The people who are like, just be like Mitch, who's coming back, like, I've got an advantage to share with everybody. Or David, who's like, ooh, and this person's going here and we're going to blindside this person. Like, it's funny, just like, no matter who it is, that's always the rationale. This person's playing too hard. We got to get rid of them. Although I guess, like, to Say's credit, like, not last week. It was like, Stephanie, you're not playing hard enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We saw Kyle is the person who ends up finding the beware advantage, and he ends up enlisting the help of Kamilla to decode it. Steven, what'd you think about that? It was the same letters. Like, I was like, my mind was blown as she's like working on the descrambling the letters, and she's like, and she gets to listen, and she's like, no, it's not listen. I was like, try it again, Kamilla.
Yeah. Apparently, I think someone told me, I think it might have been Brian Corden. It feels like it probably was Brian Corden.
Sounds like this is his lane. Yeah.
That like these 6 letters are like famous for like all of the different combinations that they can have.
Yeah. And so, yeah, ultimately the word ends up being enlist. What do you think about Kamilla, like getting a twig and then writing on her leg? Well, I feel like it was smart, except for then what are, like Mitch and Charity gonna be like, hey, what's with all these letters on your leg?
I think it's easy to brush off your leg. I don't think it's like she wasn't tattooing herself.
I think it's like a scratch. No?
Oh, I thought it was just in like the dirt on her leg.
Oh, I don't know. But we'll find out. But I think that it seems like that she was like making like a scratch.
I mean, scratch. You're not gonna like, no, oh, these scratches on your leg are making letters. That feels like it's a conspiracy theory, you know?
I don't know. Like the letters are public. Like they're out there.
Yeah.
It's like, are you trying to figure out the word scramble on your leg?
Yeah.
Yeah. But ultimately, okay, Kyle and Kamilla, do you feel like that as somebody who was in one of the great 2-person alliances of all time, do you think that they have the juice?
I really like this duo. I really like this duo. I think this might be, I mean, Eva and Joe is great. But like in terms of like their like the strategic longevity of who I think has got the juice, it's probably closer to Kyle and Kamilla.
Steven, Jeff said this is a season of partnerships, he had said. And said not all the partnerships are going to last. I know rankings are arbitrary and reductive, so I wouldn't ask you to rank them. But do you want to just give us a like thumbs up, thumbs down on the duos that we have so far?
All right, Justin and Kevin, I'm going to give them a thumbs down. Right
thumbs down. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if ultimately Kevin and Mary was the duo.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay. Cedrek and Say.
Cedrek and Say is great. They're doing well. Good for them. Like they've got, they basically control their tribe now, like the two of them.
Eva
all
and
the
Joe.
other duos are doing great. I mean, Eva and Thomas, or Eva
and Joe.
Sorry, I was thinking Bianca and Thomas. Eva and Joe, yeah, amazing. I love Eva and Joe. What a great relationship. So beautiful.
Okay, Bianca and Thomas,
also great. They're all great. It's hard to say now. It's episode 2. Except for the one that blew up. It's like that's they're all good.
Charity and Mitch.
Okay, I don't have a lot of hope for Charity and Mitch. It's very sweet. I mean, I love Mitch. How do you not love Mitch? And that was so
Well, Mitch had such a great episode. He has the really great moment with Jeff, which was, I thought, a nice thing to have in the show where, it wasn't just that, you have the representation of Mitch who has a speech impediment, but that Jeff asked, I thought, a really good question of, and T-Bird and I were talking about this the other day after she saw the preview for this of like, hey, Mitch, would you prefer that somebody tries to finish your sentence, or would you prefer to be able to have the time to finish your thought? And he said that, I'd prefer to finish the thought.
Yeah. Jeff has so much empathy. This is why I think he should run for governor of Kansas. I really think like this could be his call. He's so much empathy, but he also has a lot of authority. He's he's obviously very handsome. He has money, so he could support the run. I feel like he would be a great governor of Kansas. He's just got like a lot of
good listener.
He's a good listener, but he also is like willing to make decisions. He can lead an enormous organization. And this way too, maybe we'll see like 2 starting tribes.
He's also willing to, evolve his positions on things.
Yeah. That's right.
He's leaving the rules of Survivor 50 in the hands of the fans. Maybe do you think that this is like the beginning of maybe a political career for Jeff?
Yeah, exactly.
Look, we could do worse.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he should be the governor of New York, but like Kansas, like we need a new governor in Kansas. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm not as tapped in as you are on the political scene.
Yeah. I don't know. I really I don't know what I'm talking about. For anyone who actually knows about the the electoral politics of Kansas, like I truly don't know anything about.
Let us know.
Yes, so really lovely moment from Jeff with Mitch, and yes, amazing night for Mitch. Both with that I was like tearing up at that. I've been like working really hard on a lot of projects recently, and I think I'm like worn out because like every Survivor episode I'm like weeping. It's like
no, but you're not alone. It's not like that all of a sudden like people are like, what, Steven, what is it? Like it's not like a commercial that you're like crying. Like I've been hearing from a lot of people that Survivor is just like hitting like a very emotional place right now.
Yeah, and the other thing about it too is I feel like they've like dialed it back, and that helps it feel more authentic. In the early 40s, and we certainly complained about this at the time, everyone had an emotional moment. And in like through 43, I think it kind of sort of lessened around 44. But like it was just so much like emotion and look and emotion. It just felt
some
like
people call it trauma dumping.
Yeah, well, I like that. That's good. It really felt like they were trying so hard to pull on your heartstrings rather than kind of like letting these moments breathe and occur organically. And I thought that was really, they score them beautifully, so it's like when as soon as but now not every moment feels like it's like aggressively scored.
What do you think of Tribal Council? I thought we had Spicy Jeff pop up, especially on Justin, where Justin was talking about how, boy, Jeff, we wouldn't have this issue if you're winning. And he was like, well, you're not. You're here.
I know. He really, yeah, exactly. Not letting him,
very, very spicy. And Jeff talked about how, that Cedrek compared this to therapy. But Jeff's like, I guess I must not be a good therapist for you guys.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. And just to go back to the Say and Mary relationship, I thought it was so interesting where Mary wanted Say to announce that, hey, you're playing the game dishonestly. Just say it. Just say that. So like, no, I'm playing this game, very, very honestly. And that meant a lot to Mary.
Saying Mary felt like it was more honest to say you were being dishonest.
Dishonest. Yeah. It's interesting. Now, is there a path to healing for these two? Because Say still votes out Kevin at this tribal council. Mary comes back. Do you think that there's any chance that we could see this end up being a relationship that's salvaged?
I don't think this is one of the duos we'll be talking about at the end.
I don't think so either, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Now, back at that camp, a new idol will be hidden. Now that I believe that we have that precedent in the new era, right?
Sure.
Because in Survivor 44, we saw where Brandon played his idol when Maddie was trying to blindside him. I believe he plays his idol on himself. And then Matthew ends up finding the idol at camp after Brandon hit it. So I think we do have precedent that a pre-merge idol in the new era ends up getting a new idol, a non-beware advantage idol ends up getting hidden.
So specific.
Well, that's what we're looking at. So I think that their hope for Mary is that the idol gets re-hidden and maybe Mary is the person who finds the idol.
Yeah, it's interesting. But like, if you're a producer, don't you want Say to have another idol? Like, if you're like, who is giving us the most? Obviously, Say is quite literally giving you the most.
Giving you the most. Okay. All right. Well, Stephen, that leads us to our discussion. Of course, every week, Stephen Fishbach gives out the most coveted award in all of Survivor analysis. That is the Fishy Award, established 2009. Here we are, Stephen Fishbach, in year 16 of the Fishy.
Wow.
Who do you think deserves this week's Fishy Award?
All right, let's talk through the options, okay? As we do. So let's start with the Siva tribe.
I would love it if we could have like a Fishy Award intro song for any of our intrepid listeners out there, all the creative minds. Shouldn't we get a Fishy song?
I would love that. Oh my gosh. That's all I want is like a theme song.
Yeah.
The Love Know-It-Alls are still my favorite.
Yes. Any notes for the writers of anything you want in there? Should like any compliments for you?
Oh yeah, obviously compliments for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, that's just what it is. More about me than about the recipient.
More about the greatness of Stephen and the legacy of the Fishy. Okay. Exactly. All right. So Stephen, what are you thinking for this week?
Okay. Well, let's talk through it tribe by tribe. So Siva tribe, I think you're not going to really see anybody on this tribe winning the award, right? Like, who would it be? I mean, Kamilla
think in a world I could see, hey, Mitch, you got 5 baskets. Had a great moment. This is not a basketball he also got an advantage. Oh, by the way, going back to the advantages. Oh, yeah. So I believe Thomas got a steal a vote.
Yeah.
Mitch got a block a vote. Block a vote.
Sucks. Block a vote is so much worse than steal a vote.
I wanted to ask you, okay, can you rank them? Are they close? Is it like 4 quarters and $1? But so steal a vote is much better.
The steal a vote is much better. That said, having had my game, sort of ruined with the steal a vote.
Almost impossible to screw up steal a vote, right?
I think there's something, we've talked about this in the past, where like the more powerful your power, the worse it is for you, because you get like so kind of locked into various scenarios of how you're going to play it perfectly. And so having kind of a limited power is almost, in many ways a lot better. Both because if you use it incorrectly, you're like, oh, whatever, stupid block of it, who cares? And also because you're not thinking how I'm going to change the game with the block of it, whereas the steal a vote feels so nefarious, this is my villain.
What do you think Mary's advantage would have been?
Probably it's like an extra vote or something.
Steal
like that.
Vote, block vote, extra vote. Yeah.
So yeah, like Mitch had a great episode, but nothing necessarily strategic.
Right.
Maybe his relationship with Charity, but like that didn't feel necessarily. P.S. Can we just say about the little like containers? What a cool souvenir! I have a lot of little like tubes and things from Survivor. Like nothing is as cool as
nothing
that.
is cool. I doubt they let them keep it. But
oh come on, they've got
put it in the CBS store, you cowards.
No. That the person who opened those deserves those. They put a lot of work in.
Mm-hmm.
So Laggi,
those things are going to Ghost Island, baby.
Exactly. Laggi. So, we certainly had Star finding the advantage, Star building an alliance, Star who was in a really bad spot at the start of the episode. And then kind of by the end of the episode looks to have, maybe people are still plotting against her, but they're plotting against her more, with more love. Star.
She has definitely advanced her position, but I don't know if there was enough there.
Yeah. But I really think it has to be you could certainly make a case for, say, deserving the Fishy last week as the person.
I believe I did.
What?
I believe I did.
Yeah, I made the case too. I just chose somebody else's case.
Yes.
And again, like I actually really think that I was deeply influenced by Say's Twitter presence, where she's so vocal. I was like, this is pre-merge Twitter. And like again, like to your point, this might be Tony Vlachos Twitter. They overlap in a lot of ways. Like. And we've certainly seen a lot of other people. I mean, Carson had a very active Twitter presence, did very well on his season. So it's no longer as absolute a rule that if you're super active on Twitter out of the gate, you're probably a pre-merger. So I need to like remove my own former perspective. But so say like, certainly like was the person who drove the vote last week. And I think this week even played it better, where Say was able to pull the Boston Rob move, in your words, and flip the vote on Kevin, the person who was targeting her. Say played her idol, which I thought, even though it wasn't necessary, it was a good move because it was the conservative choice. She knew she was a potential target, and she was cautious enough to save herself in case things didn't go her way. And she, was able to cement her relationship with Cedrek. I thought she did a great episode, a great 2 episodes, and she certainly deserves the Fishy this week.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, I was going to add on that it was her social bond with Cedrek that ends up saving her, where that had it not been for that, had it not been how close she was with Cedrek, and Cedrek thinks of her like a daughter to him, that he would not have given her the heads up and she would have been blindsided with her idol potentially. So really her social bond ends up saving her, and she ends up going after the person who was the bigger threat, who was plotting against her in the tribe. And yes, I totally see what you're saying about her being a spicy personality on Twitter, and maybe that is not the best omen for her overall game. But hey, it's the new era, baby. Like, go big or go home. And so I think that like playing a more aggressive style of game, I think has certainly had its advantages here, building from a starting position. And something we talked about last week was especially to play the game fast, especially in a tribe that looks headed for nothing but absolute disaster. Like that is certainly like you want to get out in front and control this thing, where that she may well have to go into the merge with only 2 people in her tribe. So being in a good position to start really, I think was a great way for her to start the game. And I love having her on the season. She, with all due respect to Star to me, Say is the star of the season.
That was pretty good. To your point about her relationship with Cedrek specifically cited that Say would always call her like dad. I'm sorry, would always call him dad. And Cedrek specifically cited Cedrek specifically cited that Say would call him dad. And, we didn't get a Say confessional about that, but we certainly know that that is a way to build a bond with someone, is kind of granting them that sort of familial relationship with you. I remember before I went out to Cambodia, Ethan Zahn's advice to me was I tried to fill in that familial role for every single person who I was playing with. So if someone needed a brother, I was going to be their brother. If someone wanted, a son figure, I was going to be their son. And so this is not just Cedric's affection for Say. This is Say building that relationship by, using these very loaded words, Dad.
And to Cedrek and to Justin, I also give them credit because I feel like that the person who is, playing the hardest and the fastest, to align with that person, I think is a good move also in the new era. We saw that was kind of what Genevieve was thinking with Rome in Survivor 47. And I think that you want to be in the proximity of that person as opposed to being the person in the crosshairs of the person who's going the hardest in the pre-merge.
That's interesting because there was some concern from Genevieve that she would get blowback from Rome because he was alienating people, but that never happened. And does it happen generally? I don't think it does anymore.
Yeah, I don't think that we, for people to go ahead and then do such a bold move to okay, I'm going to try to blindside the person who, the friend of the person who has the idol. I don't think there's a ton of danger that Teeny and Kashan did not want to go along with Asia and Saul to do that last season. So I think it's a safe place to be. And I think it's a good idea when you have somebody like that on your tribe. All right. Steve, anything else about tonight's episode, which I thought was super fun?
Yeah, great episode. Very fun.
Yeah, great job. We're off to a flying start here in Survivor 48. The only thing missing from the conversation maybe is you. Survivor is better when you have a tribe. Come and be a part of the greatest reality TV community in the world here at Rob Has a Podcast. Head over to robhasawebsite.com/patron to be a part of our many patron activities, the Survivor Q&A, and all of the content we have for you, including 15 years later, Survivor Heroes versus Villains. Josh Wigler and I have gone back in 15 years to the date. We just watched episode 4, a huge move. Your friend JT, Steven, can you believe what he pulled? He flipped and voted out Sari.
That was big. That was big. Apparently, he gave me credit for that. He was like, Steven, and I shouldn't probably be saying this publicly. He was like, you told me to watch out for Sari, that she was a giant slayer. And so I needed to get her out. I didn't want Steven to be mad at me. I didn't want to go home and be, yeah. I
didn't know that.
Oh yeah. He was like, I think JT probably could have gotten it. Probably would have figured that out himself. That Sari was, the most dangerous player. But I think, he was like, I didn't want you to be mad at me. I had to take Sari out before she could get me.
Oh my God. Yeah. Wow. That was brave of you to admit that.
Oh no. What's going to happen to me now, Rob?
Allegedly.
But it was
JT could have been making that up.
Only because I respect her so much, because I was like, Sari's the best player out there. You got to get rid of her first. Okay. You want to be the best player out there, so get all rid of the ones who are better than you.
Yeah. Well, look, you got to hide behind some threats too, Steven.
Yeah. That was before the meat shield era.
That strategy wasn't invented yet. Yeah. Okay. Then, all right, The Traitors is wrapping up on Thursday night. How will it all wrap up? Find out when we talk about The Traitors season finale and the reunion show. We're going to go live, I think, around 10:45 p.m. Eastern. Puya and I will talk about everything Traitors. Plus, we'll be working on some postseason interviews for you as well. That's all at weknowtraitors.com for the podcast feed. Then The Amazing Race kicks off tonight. Once upon a time, Steven and I might have been on The Amazing Race.
It's not too late. As long as you're willing to take all the brain damage, as long as you're willing to take the brain injury challenges.
Yeah, that was Steven's one condition.
Come on, you don't.
That was Steven's one condition. Yeah. That if we went on The Amazing Race, anything that could potentially cause any sort of, anything dangerous that might involve some sort of potential brain injury, I had to take that on instead of Steven.
It was specifically the bungee jump, which I'm not a fan of the bungee jump.
I would not be a fan of it either. Hopefully, we would be eliminated before we have to get to that point. Okay.
Can you time out of a brain damage challenge?
I think so. Maybe just I'll ask Boston Rob, but I think if you sit out for 4 hours, I think that you can avoid doing the challenge. Yeah. But check out the brand new season of The Amazing Race. And then Mike Bloom and Jessica Leese will be back with the recap coming up on Thursday on RHAP. And then Australian Survivor is off to a great start. And check out Shannon Gus talked with the great Ferris about everything going on in week 3 of Australian Survivor. We make it so easy for the patrons to watch what's going on over on Australian Survivor. Brains versus Brawn 2 in our We Know Global Survivor feed. And then over on our scripted TV podcast, I'm talking about The White Lotus with Josh Wigler. We know scriptedtv.com, where you can hear Severance and all of the other great scripted TV recaps we have for you. All right, Steven, what else is coming up for you?
Yeah, I mean, I just should say, last week I did a very tepid pitch to sign up for my newsletter at stephenfishbach.com. This week I'm going to take it up slightly 1 degree. Please sign up for my newsletter at stephenfishbach.com. I promise I will not be spamming you at all until my book comes out in a year. I will be doing, when my book does come out in February of 2026, I will be doing viewing parties probably around the country. And so if you would like to get if you would like to get notices of when those are, when they're coming to you, sign up now. I'll certainly be, messaging that list first for any access. And February 2026, it's a big season that season. So it's going to be, hopefully those will be really fun viewing parties.
All right. Wow. This is news to me. I didn't even know you were planning
news to me.
Parties.
Well, I haven't planned anything yet, so I really should get on that. But
wow.
we got some
Can
time.
I come?
Well, yeah, I would love it. Please,
Mm-hmm.
we could do a podcast or something.
Oh, that'd be incredible.
Like a live Steven.
Go on tour with you. Yeah. All right.
I would do it because anything that will sell books, and also,
we are so back, everybody. StephenFishbach.com. How many newsletter signups do you need for that?
40,000.
40,000. StephenFishbach.com.
40 million.
40 million signups. So if we could just do like 10x the Survivor audience, that'd be incredible. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you all so much for joining us. Oh boy. Thank you to the live studio audience as well. It's been so fun having you all here. And then we love to read what you have to say in the comments. Every Thursday morning, what did everybody say about the know-it-alls? I read it religiously.
I also love to read the comments. Great comments. Great comment section.
Yeah. Everybody, for the most part, pretty respectful. And so we love to hear
positive,
what you have to say. So check that out and make sure
you used to have a comment section on your website.
We used to. The world got too crazy. The world got too crazy. And so we had to take it down. But the YouTube comments, we love you. So thank you so much. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit that subscribe button and let us know what you think. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye. This is RHAP. We know reality TV.